Let's be honest for a second. We have all been there. Picture this. It's a random Tuesday. You decide to treat yourself, and maybe you buy a new pair of sneakers. Just sneakers, right? Nothing crazy. They look amazing, clean, fresh, brand new. You bring them home, you put them on, and you look in the mirror. But then something weird happens. You look down at your jeans, the ones you've worn for 3 years. Suddenly they look old. They look faded. Actually, they look kinda terrible next to those fresh new kicks. So what do? You go buy a new pair of jeans to match the shoes. Logical, right? But wait, now you've got the fresh kicks and the crisp denim. But that old t-shirt you're wearing, it's got a hole in the collar. It doesn't fit the new vibe. So you buy a new shirt, then a new watch. And before you know it, you've spent $1,000 trying to support a $50 purchase. You didn't plan this, you didn't budget for this, but somehow buying one thing triggered a chain reaction that made you want to buy everything else. This isn't just you being bad with money. It's not just a lack of willpower. This is a psychological phenomenon that has been hacking human brains for over 200 years. It's a trap. And in this video, we are going to break down exactly what this invisible force is, why it makes us go broke without us even noticing, and most importantly, how you can stop the spiral before it starts. Welcome to the Diderot Effect. Let's dive in. So, where does this come from? Is it something invented by modern marketing geniuses? Is it Apple trying to get you to buy the AirPods because you bought the iPhone? Well, yes. But the origin story goes way back. We're talking 18th century France. There was this guy named Denis Diderot. Now, Diderot wasn't some wealthy aristocrat. He was a philosopher. He was the guy who co-founded the Encyclopédie. He was brilliant, but let's just say he was broke. He spent most of his life living paycheck to paycheck, or whatever the 1700s equivalent of a paycheck was. But then everything changed. In 1765, his daughter was getting married, and Diderot couldn't afford a dowry. He was desperate. Word got out, and it reached none other than Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia. She heard about his money troubles and decided to buy his entire library from him, and she paid a fortune. Suddenly, overnight, Diderot was rich. He had cash in his pocket for the first time in his life. So, he did what anyone suddenly coming into money would do. He went shopping. He bought himself a beautiful scarlet robe, a dressing gown. It was elegant, expensive, and absolutely stunning. He loved this robe. He brought it home, put it on, and sat down at his desk to write. And that is when the trouble started. You see, Diderot looked around his study. He saw his old dusty desk. He saw the ragged rug on the floor. He saw the straw chair he was sitting on. And he realized something painful. His environment didn't match his magnificent new robe. He later wrote an essay about this, saying there was no more coordination, no more unity, no more beauty between his robe and the rest of his stuff. The robe was too nice. It made everything else look like garbage. So, guess what he did? He replaced the old rug with one from Damascus. He threw out the straw chair and bought a leather one. He replaced his cheap prints with expensive paintings. He bought a new mirror to place over the mantel. Slowly but surely, he replaced every single item in his room until the entire environment matched the quality of the robe. And at the end of it all, he was sitting in a luxurious room, wearing a luxurious robe, and he was miserable. He realized he had become a slave to his possession. He famously wrote, "I was the absolute master of my old dressing gown, but I have become a slave to my new one." That, my friends, is the Diderot Effect. It's the tendency for obtaining a new possession to create a spiral of consumption that leads you to acquire even more new things. It's the feeling that your stuff needs to match. Now, you might be thinking, okay, cool history lesson, but I don't wear scarlet robes. How does this apply to me? Here's the thing. This happens to us every single day. We just don't notice it because it feels like we're just upgrading our lives. Think about the last time you moved into a new apartment or bought a new house. You buy a new couch. It's a great couch. But once it's in the living room, you realize your old coffee table looks scratched and cheap right next to it. So, you upgrade the table. But now with the new couch and the new table, the lighting feels off. It's too dim. So you buy new lamps, and suddenly the carpet looks stained. So you need a new rug. It never ends. Or, let's talk about the fitness trap. This is a classic Diderot moment. You decide to get in shape. Good for you. So you buy a gym membership. But you can't go to the gym in your old college t-shirt, right? You need gear. So you buy the performance shoes, but then you need the moisture-wicking socks, and the smartwatch to track your heart rate, and the specific water bottle that fits in the car cup holder, and the expensive protein powder. You haven't even done a single push-up yet, and you've already spent $500. Why? Because you aren't just buying items. You are trying to buy an identity. See, that's the real trap here. It's deep psychology. We don't buy things just for their utility. We buy things because of what they say about us. When Diderot bought that robe, he wasn't just buying warmth. He was buying the identity of a wealthy, sophisticated intellectual. But his old room? His old room screamed, struggling writer. Those two identities clashed. They couldn't exist in the same space. The human brain hates inconsistency. We crave unity. Psychologists call this a drive for consistency. We want our external world to match our internal picture of who we think we are. So when you buy that expensive MacBook Pro, you suddenly feel like a creative professional. But a creative professional wouldn't have a messy, cheap desk, right? They would have a minimalist setup with a mechanical keyboard and noise-canceling headphones. So you buy those things to complete the picture. You are trying to resolve the tension between the old you and the new you. And marketing companies? Oh, they know this. They love this. Have you ever noticed that furniture stores don't just sell you a chair? They sell you a lifestyle. They show you the chair in a perfectly designed room with the matching lamp and the matching rug. They are planting the seed of the Diderot effect before you even swipe your card. They know that if they can get you to buy the hero product, the big item, the accessories will sell themselves. The problem is, this spiral is invisible. You don't feel like you're being manipulated. You feel like you're just finishing the set. You tell yourself, I just need this one last thing to make it perfect. But spoiler alert, it is never perfect. There is always another upgrade. There is always a new standard to meet. And that is why the Diderot effect is so dangerous for your wallet. It turns a simple want into an obsessive need. It turns a $50 purchase into a $5,000 lifestyle overhaul. So, are we doomed? Are we just destined to keep upgrading our stuff until we run out of money? No, absolutely not. We can break the cycle. But to do that, we have to stop operating on autopilot. We need to be smarter than our instincts. Here's the step-by-step game plan to beat the Diderot effect. Step 1. Awareness is 50% of the battle. Just knowing this phenomenon has a name gives you power over it. The next time you buy something new and feel that sudden urge to replace something else, stop. Say it out loud. This is the Diderot effect. Recognize that your old stuff didn't suddenly get worse. The utility of your old coffee table hasn't changed. It still holds coffee cups just fine. The only thing that changed is your perception of it. Step 2. Avoid the upgrade triggers. You need to identify the items that trigger a spiral for you. For some people, it's technology. For others, it's clothes or home decor. When you are about to buy a hero item, like a new suit or a new gaming console, ask yourself, what else will I need to buy to make this work? If buying a $300 gaming console requires you to buy a $1,000 TV and a $200 headset to really enjoy it, the actual cost isn't $300. It's $1,500. Calculate the full cost of the chain reaction before you pull the trigger. Step 3. The one in, one out rule. This is a classic minimalism rule, but it works wonders here. If you bring a new item into your life, something else has to leave. If you buy a new pair of shoes, you have to donate or sell an old pair. This prevents you from just accumulating stuff, but it also forces you to evaluate. Is this new thing really worth giving up the old thing? It stops you from trying to build a new life on top of your old one. It keeps your inventory stable. Step 4. Buy things for their utility, not their status. This is a hard one. We all want to look good. But try to separate the function of an item from the identity it projects. Does the hammer need to be brand new to hit the nail? No. Does the car need to be a 2025 model to get you to work? No. When you focus on what an item does rather than what it says about you, the pressure to match everything else disappears. A rusty hammer works fine next to a brand new drill. They don't need to be friends. They just need to work. Step 5. Practice a buy nothing month. If you feel like you're currently in a spiral, maybe you're in the middle of a home renovation or a wardrobe overhaul, hit the emergency brake. Commit to buying absolutely nothing non-essential for 30 days. What this does is it forces you to live with the inconsistency. You have to sit in your room with the new couch and the old table. And guess what? After a week, you stop noticing the difference. Your brain adapts. The tension fades. You realize you don't actually need the new table. You were just caught in the momentum. And finally, step 6. Define your enough. The Diderot Effect feeds on the idea that there is a perfect version of your life just one purchase away, but that horizon keeps moving. You have to decide what enough looks like for you. If your current phone works, it is enough. If your current wardrobe keeps you warm and decent, it is enough. When you define your own standard, you stop looking at marketing materials to tell you what your life should look like. Let's wrap this up. Denis Diderot eventually learned his lesson, but he learned it the hard way. He lost the comfort of his old life chasing the perfection of a new one. He warned us, "Let my example teach you a lesson. Poverty has its freedoms. Opulence has its obstacles." Now, I'm not saying you need to be poor. I'm not saying you can't buy nice things. We love nice things. But we need to understand the relationship we have with our possessions. There is a huge difference between owning things and being owned by things. When you buy something because you genuinely need it or it brings you joy, that's ownership. But when you buy something just to satisfy the invisible demand of a previous purchase, that's when the things start owning you. Your life isn't a showroom. It doesn't need to be curated. It doesn't need to be consistent. It just needs to be yours. So, the next time you're standing in a store, holding that shiny new item, just remember the guy in the scarlet robe. Ask yourself, is this going to add value to my life? Or is this just going to make me hate my furniture? Be the master of your dressing gown, not the slave. If you found this helpful, or if you've ever fallen into this trap, I know I have. Hit that like button so we can help more people save their wallets. And if you want to understand more about the mental traps that keep us broke, make sure you subscribe. We are going to decode all of them right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.